You stick with the England theory, Thomas Tuchel says, well, I've got 14 or 15 who could start. So when you have that in an international squad, you are going to use it, aren't you? Particularly in a long tournament.
Yeah, especially you've got different types. Because I think it's a fantastic example with Marlon and Broby. Two different types, two good strikers, but Broby, because of his physicality, he just brings something different. And if they knew that they press high so they could play up to him, but I also must say, to look in details in him today, I think, Ellen, you had some excellent points about his movements, occupying almost all three centre-backs, and his runs in the box, excellent. He scored 2 goals, and it was one of them, I remember, come on, slide in, there's almost a hat-trick, and also the Gakpo one. So I think that was an excellent choice in that.
How important is harmony? Because again, I've talked about Cole Palmer, I've talked about Trent, all these players who I feel should have been in the England squad.
Yeah, but then you'd have had an England squad of 47.
But key players in my opinion. But how important is the harmony of the group?
I think, of course, it's always the balance. We talked about it before the game, you and I think you need still to have enough quality off the bench. And I think the first game for England against Croatia showed it. So they're putting Rashford on, they're putting Saka on, and there was one more, I thought it was, but definitely the two of them for the wingers. Rodgers. Rodgers was the last one. And they made the difference. So that's 3 top players, and you still have SA, so that's 4. They need to be unlucky to have too many injuries during the tournament, which can happen. So that's one thing. But then I think the harmony, to be together for 6 weeks, and no matter how good guys, every footballer, of course, is, there's that ego, and it is difficult. And I've seen it so many times. It's not often that the player can give so much positive energy that you need, because you need that togetherness as well.
But when you talk about ego, you're not saying them players have the ego, but potentially they would be expecting to start. So you need players who are happy to be on the bench.
Yeah, but no, I think no one is happy to be on the bench. I know Ivan Toney very well. He's not. He want to start, but he understands it, and he brings a lot of joy, and he brings a lot of fantastic energy. Plus, he of course is a good player. Plus, he's the best penalty taker in the world. So it's all that, all those things you need to consider.
I think it is about clarity, though, in your role and understanding that. And I think the manager has to take real responsibility in that, having the communication with every individual player, because not everyone's going to start every game, so everyone will have a role and responsibility. And I understand that everyone wants to start, but I think it's about the team. The team has to take priority. Ego has to go out the window at the end of the day if you've got the goal and the belief is winning.
100%, and there's no doubt that every player say, of course, I understand my role, but not all understand the role. And you just have that feeling when you speak to them, and then you get information about from other players, other staff members, he's saying it or she's saying it, but in reality it's not really happening.
And as long as, Bobby had it explained to him why he didn't start the first one, or why Somerville was explained to him why he was put on the bench for this one, and who knows what they might want to do against Tunisia depending on the state of the group. That has to be the most important thing for any player, but particularly the forward players.
Yeah, it's always tricky because there's probably a number of forward players and there's not a lot of positions, especially that number 9 role. There's just one position, and there's a number of players that could play that position. So I think, you have to understand the game plan and your role and your responsibility and have that clarity, but also that fire in your belly to be like, I'm frustrated that I didn't start, but actually now I've got a huge opportunity. And for Bobby, that's a huge chance for him to be selected again for the next game, because he scored 2, he's contributed, and obviously it's a different game plan, but he was unbelievable.
Okay, we'll look back at the goals from the whole game very shortly, but let's get the thoughts of Graham Potter after that defeat.
Yeah, obviously really disappointed, certainly with the result there. It was a tricky one to analyse. I thought we did lots of good things in the game, attacked, had some opportunities, but obviously defensively you can't concede that many and hope to win. But we'll learn a lot from the game.
Vad är det som inte fungerar försvarsmässigt?
We're playing against a good team. They hurt us in the wide areas. First goal was from a long ball that we didn't deal with very well. I thought we got off to not a great start in the first period, and then came back into it actually second part of the first half where I thought we were the better team, and then we just started badly again in the second. Well, actually we started quite well, and then we lost the ball, and all of a sudden the 2 goals and the game's gone away from us. the boys kept going. In fairness to them, they kept going. But like I said, it was one of those things that we'll learn a lot from.
Ja, det har varit mycket medvind efter 5-1-matchen. Nu förlorar ni med 5-1. Hur påverkar det här gruppen?
Well, exactly. Sometimes you have to have these experiences. I didn't think it was that type of game, but again, that's the scoreline. We have to accept it and learn from it.
We decided to run that because we were told that one member of the panel could translate the questions that were being asked in Swedish. Micah? That was too easy. Come on. Quick, yes, you did know what the final question was?
The final question was about lose the first one 5-1. No, win the first one 5-1, and then lose the second one 5-1. And that, of course, as we talked about in here, extremely strange to have that experience. So you win 5-1, probably a bigger win that the performance were too, but super excited. Then you lose the next one 5-1, probably too big to what the performance were too, but now you're just so much down and you need to pick the team up and they have a crucial game against Japan.
So what does that do as a manager to you, say in the Premier League? You win one and then you lose one. Does that affect your confidence, or you just, that game's out the way now, we move on?
I think it depends a little bit. Of course, if you're on a good run and you lose one, okay, out the window, let's go again. If you're on a bad run, it can be a little bit more tricky. Yeah. But it is with all games, I always say I have this 24 hours rule. You can be excited for 24 hours or you can be disappointed for 24 hours, and then you need to move on. No matter what, you need to go again.